Guro Jee Choi here with Floro Fighting Systems. So, had some of you guys ask me some questions regarding after, shout out to my brother Ray first. Ray, how are you? Hopefully everything's well and much better weather in Australia because it's starting to rain here, which is great for me, but everyone else, yeah, not really that big fan of rain, but I am. I guess I'm still stuck here in Washington State. Anyhow, Ray posted basically posted one of the links to my old video that I did on Mr. Perrin's Sakatripas. Shout out to Mr. Perrin. How are you, sir? Hopefully everything's well. That was a odd find, and shortly after, actually right after I got it, Matt, shout out to my buddy Matt down in Texas. He actually, how's it going, bro? He picked that up from me shortly after I posted that up for grabs after I got it, and it was really for research into what would be best for FFS underhand knife that Ray was releasing at that time. Now, one of the knives that I've recently acquired, as y'all know, is this fruit knife from Sauvage Defense, which is perfect for edge and reverse grip. But another reason why I picked this up is because it is also perfect for FFS underhand knife. Allow me to illustrate on that one. First of all, its deployment capabilities what really intrigued me was, one, you stick it in your pocket, and as you deploy it, once you grip it, because of that little notch on the top near the puño, you can index which side is the edge, and as you deploy the blade up, the sheath stays in the pocket and allowing you to get your weapon into deployment. And this is very much working the same principle as Mr. Emerson's wave knife features, the wave features on his folding knives. Now, that is if I was using this, because it's chisel edged, as you guys can see, it is meant for edge and reverse grip from deployment from, obviously, from right hand for best use, not that you can't do it from your left side either. But for left hand side, the beauty of this, you simply grab it like this, and instead of deploying it forward, you deploy it like you normally would with a wave knife, and the blade sheath will fall while allowing you to deploy your blade forward. And if you are executing FFS underhand knife, this is blinding fast and impossible to see, especially under no light, low light conditions. And during a close quarter entanglement, you will not be able to see what's hit you until it's too late. Now, for more information on the instruction, I highly recommend you my teacher, Master Raymond Floro's FFS Online on the course FFS Underhand Knife, which focuses specifically on using a blade such as this, but for foregrip applications with edge in. Many of my students ask me, gee, what's the purpose on something like that will be best for it? And I always give them a good example of this during a demonstration would be, since I'm here in the United States of America, and most, if not all, my students carry a boomstick in one form or another. In Washington State, this is not permitted, but in states such as Florida and Texas, where you are permitted to carry a fixed edge knife up to a certain length, I recommend my students to carry something like Mr. Craig Douglas's clinch pick, which if you position that in a pelvic carry, which is what he coined, if someone's going for your weapon, whether that's appendix or position on your strong side or FO3 like yours truly, you simply catch and pin and lock that blade in. Now, as you're doing this, you reach for your blade that is positioned on the pelvic line. And if it's correctly positioned, all you need to do is now just pull by. And something that Mr. Douglas really illustrated as well is that in a close quarter entanglement, where especially everybody's pretty much putting pressure onto so you don't lose control of your weapon, so you can retain it, it's very difficult to draw a blade out by normal means, like pull or push or whatever. So what this method does well is, instead of using your arm to deploy the blade, just by moving your hips, you could clear your sheath and your blade from that for rapid deployment and go into work, which is the purpose, to get the hurt off you, as a get the fuck off me knife. So in that manner, this is great, and that's where FFS underhand knife really comes in fast and handy, and it's great. Highly recommend for you guys looking for that particular training material to integrate into your personal operating system for situations if you do get into close quarter entanglement. I honestly can't find a program or recommend your program that will be better than FFS underhand knife. And for the best hardware, now I was working with, at that time when I was trying to see what would be best for my use, I was working with Mr. Perrin's Sakatripas, which is amazing. I've also had Sakatripas from various different other people, but my brother Laci Szabo, shout out to my brother Laci, how's it going, brother? His amazing Sakatripas is what I would personally, if I could actually carry only one Sakatripas, that'll be what I'll be carrying with me, just because Laci's always about a light year advance and ahead of everyone else. And he already had a Sakatripas blade when everybody was still wondering what the hell was that. And not to mention, he also created a perfect trainer with it that will be worked in conjunction. But that trainer is also can be used for everyday purposes as a massaging tool, and also for me personally, I've used that for pain compliance tool for my students who literally say, "What the hell is that?" until they literally were on the ground, pretty much wondering why is the pain not stopping. So there's that kind of ways to do it. Not that I can't apply pain compliance with this. Well, give me a wrist. Yeah, it won't be that difficult. But yeah, so if you're looking for an underhand knife but can't at this time find the Sakatripas, what I recommend personally is actually a paring knife from Victorinox, or, God, I'm gonna butcher this, Henkel's, and sorry, my German sucks, so I'm not even gonna attempt that. So, you know, the one with the two figures with holding a knife, yeah, that's the knife company that also makes a great paring knife that I've been using lately and modifying. And all you need to do is to create this. Now, Ed Calderon could probably explain this a whole lot better than I can. But how I would put a notch on one of those Victorinox like paring knives is, I simply grab onto the side that I want to create the notch on. And typically, since I got the tools here, I'd use some sort of a rasp, like wooden rasp. That's all I'm using. But if you have a Dremel tool, you could use that. If you have a file, you could use that. You could use whatever you can. And simply just grind that like a cheese grater until I have the notch that I want. And then sand that down, and there it is. And I typically wrap that in a hemp cord. Create a kydex just like this. And blade is ready to rock and roll for carry where legal. And if not legal, then having it stashed away somewhere as your bug out gear. And that knife, it's not much, but it will get you through at least the one or two conflicts that need to be, and it will be the differential variation and weighing the difference between whether you live or die in a certain situation. And it's also very handy for just peeling fruits. Like this knife, I could probably peel apples and onions really fast. So there's that. Now, as for this knife, I've been informed that the gentleman who created this, who went by Sauvage Defense for his branding name, is no longer in business. But it is quickly become one of my favorite little knives for the handy garage knife. G10 with some sort of a stainless steel carbon kind of mix, because it still tarnishes and rusts if you just leave it out in the normal conditions or conditions of Pacific Northwest. But it is very strong, and once Daniel edged it, it is super sharp. So thank you again, Daniel, you're the best. Yes, this does have an epic curry edge on it. So there you go, guys. So for training, FFS underhand knife. And for those of you who also asked me, hey G, do you know where I could get myself some sort of a Sakatripas trainer? You could contact my brother Laci for, I believe it's Szabo hook. That's what he's that's what's currently being called. And it looks like one of Laci's sacatripas, but it is completely made out of plastic with no edge, just with a couple areas where it could be used like a massaging tool. But dude, believe me, that can knock people out. I've actually have one of my students who's joking around, "Hey Sauvage, can it really hurt?" And this is a long time ago, and I still went by Sauvage since JKD and yada yada and so on. And I simply grabbed that and one hit directly to the temple, pop! And he was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck just happened?" I said, "Yeah, you blacked out slightly because of that." And that was executing. That time I wasn't FFS yet. And the technique that I used back then was using my teacher, Master Arms James A. Keating's contact buoy back cut. And just that, even back cut can do that with the Hasaka 3+ trainer or the Szabo hook. Imagine what you can do with something like this using Ray's FFS underhand knife method, which is very fast and very acute, and it's designed to hit you in a blind spots that no one will, that you can't see coming. Like I said, this thing's kind of drawn a lot, so slightly worn, but yeah. But it is that easy, guys. So once it hooks onto this little spot right here on the kydex, as soon as you do that, it deploys out just like that. Great little knife. I will pretty much cherish this. And one of the things that my students been asking is like, "So gee, how come you went from," when I'm teaching, especially for military and law enforcement is for awareness. Military is for the worst possible situation when you have no munitions and only thing that you got to get yourself out alive is to pull out a blade. And those kind of shitty circumstances, what I recommend is something that's going to be on your vest, or depending on your outfit and your rigging system, that is going to be different. But generally I always say have a blade handy where you can reach it. And typically it's either on the belt or on your, pretty much your plate carrier. But for civilians, this is pretty much a no-no. And that's where this kind of blade, it being so easy that you don't have to think about putting in the belt, putting on the sheath. You don't have to worry about that. Just grab this, just toss it in your pocket with your cell and rest of the stuff, and when you do need it, you could simply just grab that up and it's ready to rock and roll when you need to. And with a little bit of training, it can become as fast as deploying from your belt, from the inside the waistband. The difference is, with training, this is actually also more faster, and it's also very difficult for even trained individual to notice this from being deployed. So with that said, I highly recommend you take some time to invest and learn to deploy this. But the training material out there for best use of this knife for defense applications will be FFS underhand knife. Deployment wise, and also for weapons retention, using this as a mean, yours truly's here. Right now it's just that I'm really bloody busy for everything else. As you know, training isn't the forte now for my current career option. Nowadays it's mostly illustrations and choreograph, and also for advisement. And I do consulting still on certain projects with some folks who ask me on that kind of things and request for that particular jobs. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. So hopefully you guys found this informative to a degree, and I'll leave the link to Ray's FFS online, so you could definitely go for the training. But for deployment stuff and for weapons retention, especially here in the United States, and also for those of you in Australia and New Zealand, one of the things that is really missing in the ADF and also New Zealand Defence Force, especially when it comes to SOF soft applications and those you who operate in that capacity, is your ability to deploy an edge weapon for retention on your primary and secondary weapon system sucks. Sorry, just gonna say it out loud. You guys really need help on that. Just from the stuff that I saw from those of you within that community sending me that video to see, it was disappointing to say at least. So on that front, As mentioned to those of you who sent me the emails and asking me if I'll be anywhere nearby to do the training, there's a good chance that I will be in Eastern Australia around first quarter of 2025. Once I'm there, I will probably do 1 or more days of just military and law enforcement training on request. So if that is what occurs, then we do so. Reason why is my current project work may take me to actually New Zealand and Australia. So once that's in the works and is done and sealed, yeah, I'll be nearby. So hit me up if you guys need the training for weapons retention part and deployment of your edge weapons, because that's the one section that you guys are kind of missing, and actually it's kind of crucial because if you can't get your blade out fast enough to save your life, you're pretty much done when it's really needed. So that's one part. But for training to actually execute the tool once it's in your hands and already deployed, that would be Floro Fighting Systems Underhand Knife. FFS Reverse Grip Knife still works great with this if you actually do put in the time to put training. Although, as y'all know, we do prefer foregrip now more than we do our reverse grip, but there's no really wrong path for this. But there's one thing that I'm kind of seeing the trend right now with all military and law enforcement is you guys might remember, for law enforcement, is you're not learning a knife to deploy it to insert the blade into another individual unless your job criteria is someone within that of deep cover assignments. Military is to save your life in case everything else fucking went to get-go and it's beyond foobar. So if it's that kind of situations, yeah, that's about it. A lot of people's biggest mistake is that you're learning, your department might be saying, why are you taking a knife defense course or why are you learning to use a knife? It's so you have the skill sets to identify the problem before it is escalated. Meaning, just by being able to notice when somebody's hands in a pocket trying to deploy something out, you know what's coming next because you have the training and the know-how and the experience from the training to actually correctly execute the tactics necessary to defuse or de-escalate or neutralize the situation at hand. So there's that, but civilians also do pretty much the same knot, but there you go, guys. All right, out of the whole lengthy time on my video camera right now, just charge the battery, so we'll see how long this lasts. Thank you, and you guys have a great day.